So if let's just rough out parts of it. So this is your header, and let's say that we're looking at this is user view signed in. So once you're signed in, you have your logo here. So that's an image. So I'm just using this. I'm just doing this, kind of drawing boxes right now. And then you have your navigation, which could change or might not change. I mean, if this is always your home button to get home, and it's just a different view now, you probably don't need to change much with this navigation.
Okay.
It might be, it might be just fine for you to just leave all of these things in there. So if I just make this a link bar, or you could change it. I mean, it would just require you to have some condition where when you're logged in, you hide race, or you move race somewhere else, and you change this to say home or my profile or my view, or I'm not sure what you would say, me. I don't know, the word my and me is kind of taboo with websites because my Yahoo and all that stuff. But I'll leave that as another question for you to think about. Just sort of when the condition is I'm signed in, what do I want to see as my navigation? Do I need to see any of this? If you're thinking it's more like an app, this could become part of the footer, and it could just be all about you.
Yeah.
Right, and it could
be. I like that actually. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could minimize the header, especially if you're talking about mobile. This could be all like this is your user profile, and then some summary of so this is Mike. What's your last name, Mike?
Ivanov. Ivanov.
Got it. Okay. So this is your profile page, and you have whatever. This could be bio or just about what is it? You have a summary of miles, right? So you have something like that. You could have a bio. You could have something about yourself too if you wanted.
Yeah. Like at least where you're from.
Or you're from. Yeah, that would be nice. So San Jose, California. Does this data change every year? The completed number of miles. So this is 300. So this is summary.
So this person ran that many miles in 1 month. So it will start from 0 again.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's a lot of miles.
Some of it could be, misentered data or something, but there are people who do that many miles.
Okay, that's awesome. All right, so let's say that this is your profile page at the top, and then, all right, let's think about now these features. So we do have kind of some conditions, right? If you're looking at your own, you see edit, profile, edit, your photo. But if I'm looking at you, I see follow Mike. So we do kind of have to think about, wireframing the different conditions. So going back to our list of features of the page, we have this. You also see the form to log your miles, right? So I'm wondering, like, thinking about this view. We were talking about how they should be able to do everything that they want to do from this view, right? That could happen as like that could be what replaced the navigation up here, like log miles or log my run, Log, what did you call it? Log distance?
Yeah, log distance. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that could be part of the navigation, or we could put it within the page itself. Um,
So I
uh,
think, yeah, thinking about it um, as as an app, I think it should be part of the page. The problem with the navigation is once there's a few things in there, it's, if it's like a hamburger menu type thing, people may not even find it.
yeah, but what are them? So what are the two? There's kind of only two things, right? Um, well, there's maybe three things if you consider this page as your home page, but
Hmm.
there's a couple different things you want to do. You want to log miles, you want to view the leaderboard, and then you want to come back to your home page, right?
Okay, yeah. So it's not many things actually after we've moved everything else down. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you
Okay.
want to? I mean, so then if you think about it as like a mobile thing, if you have if you wrap the three links under the logo, it probably and we keep the labels short, it would probably fit on one line. Um, do you want to
Okay.
try that maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you don't even have to do it the same way that you have it on the page here,
Mhm.
because once you're logged in, you don't need any of this. You don't need login, sign up.
Right.
You need log out.
Yeah.
But this could be more like a web app or a mobile app where it's buttons or something.
Okay.
If you or links, what? But let's just try it one way right now. Let's just make
Sure.
them. Um, actually, let's make it a button. Um, just for the sake of keeping it more app-like. Log distance, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so log distance, leaderboard, and I think maybe it's just two because this is your home button.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it could be here or it could be here. I don't know if you really want to simplify the this user view. I think that might be a good way to bury this navigation here,
Okay.
and then we'll just move all this stuff away, and then so let's think about this other thing, which is you are looking at your own. Let's do this first as user view signed in,
Hmm.
looking at own. Um, let's see, what do we call this? Um, your view, as
Yeah.
opposed to like
Hmm.
public view.
Yeah.
So the other thing is in the public view, if we're talking about these conditions, there's an anonymous public view and there's a signed in public view, right? So if I'm not signed in, then I will see this navigation at the top.
Hmm.
If I am signed in, I'll see this navigation at the top. So that's something that you'll have to think about if it's worth doing all that.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
okay. All right. So then, if you're looking at your own view, I think there's some way to edit your profile. We could
Hmm.
put it somewhere near the top. Um, I mean, it could be right under your avatar, or it could be here. I mean, we have this section the section up here in the right, which could I would think that you want the sponsor to remain at the top of the page, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, so we can reserve this section for this call to action,
Hmm.
and then all right. So then what we now have is these remaining bits of data: your achievements,
Hmm.
your stats, people you follow, and then the log. Um, so your stats is your log, really, right? But do you want
Yeah.
to?
Yeah. It really is.
Okay.
So yeah, I think I will try to make that into a graph or something so that it's not so verbose.
Do you think this could be the log with this some visualization of overall uh, sort
Yeah,
of how you're doing?
yeah, like
That's what
some
you're
kind
thinking?
of progress graph, bar graph, or line graph or something.
Okay. So if we think about that, um, just kind of, so your log could be um, this long list of, let's put a subtitle in here. Um, this is some kind of chart or
Mhm.
graph. And then, so let's see. All right, so we'll just put, I mean, we could just have it be very, you could have it be part of this section of the page, right?
Yeah.
And then you have this, your achievements are here, and
Hmm.
it's a bunch of badges
Yeah.
that have some kind of label associated with whatever is just okay. So it's kind of like the Nike Plus badges.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something like that. Okay. Okay. Oops. Sorry.
Mhm.
All right. And then this, let's think about what else you have here. Sponsor. All right. So this is what you have now. This is the only thing that we've kind of added was just this graph so far. We could probably talk about how this wraps and how you make this responsive.
Hmm.
Um, well, let's talk about what kinds of things you want to achieve now with this layout that's different from what you're doing now.
So I think we wanted to add the list of people you follow
Right.
somewhere, I guess. That could be after the achievements or
Yeah. So it could be after the achievements. It could be in the side here. This is all stuff about you.
yeah, I see.
Um, but if you're looking at your own thing, you might be more interested in seeing quick links to the people that you follow to go look at their views, right? How are you viewing this?
Yeah, I think after you've entered your distance, you either go to the leaderboard or you may want to check out your friends' pages.
Yeah, and this is pretty. This could be pretty significant number of badges that you've accumulated.
Yeah,
So,
this guy got every badge, I think.
oh really?
I think so.
Yeah, he's kicking butt. So I guess my what I'm thinking about is when I'm looking at my own view, um, do I want to is it for self gratification to look at sort of where I am, or is it for because you could kind of change the view based on if I'm looking at it versus if somebody else is looking at it. If you're
Yeah,
looking at it, you might not want to see this thing up so high. It could just be up here next to your user info.
yeah,
Well, it could just be like a grid of people you follow. Um, so let's say, for instance, you just have all of your friends
Mm-hmm.
up here.
Yeah.
And then this just gets pushed down for your own view. And then if it's somebody else looking at your profile, this could, this could flip or something. This could be on the bottom. I don't know if that's a lot to. It's probably not too much to change the layout to do that, right?
It's not too much. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what if we do it like that, and then this way, your your main functions that you're looking for, log distance and leaderboard,
Mm-hmm.
and the way to go to the people you follow are all in sort of the top of the fold, or
Yeah.
whatever we call it these days. Okay. And then this layout seems like it would work for, and this is what you currently have, for the rest of the body.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't think that there's anything you really want to change about this grid of badges. I think that's really kind of what you want to see,
Yeah.
right, in
Mm-hmm.
your log, but not necessarily like um, yeah. I think it seems fine the way it is currently.
Yeah, I think the navigation was really the the big thing for me.
Yeah. And then, I think, I mean, we could go into this is sponsor. We could go into what happens inside, but I think the bigger um, question is to sort of, for you, might be figuring out which of these things work for you in terms
Mhm.
of layout, and then you might want to think about sort of a question of what happens when it's, you know 320 pixels or something,
Yeah.
um, and where do things break? What are the breakpoints for the layout? So I would think about you know trying to keep the same hierarchy that you have by just uh, shifting the the top right stuff
Mm-hmm.
right underneath your profile view. And
Okay.
then if you don't want to go too far into like moving things around between your own view and what the public view would be um, of your profile, then you could just be okay with the sponsors thing being here if you're looking at it yourself, or you could hide it or move it to the bottom. But that's going to be a little bit more effort probably in terms of making this responsive, because you're going from putting the top column or the right column to the top to splitting up this and then putting it on the bottom. So like if you were to put this at the bottom, that might be a different challenge. You just have to add.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would just think about you know keeping the same hierarchy of the elements
Mm-hmm.
for the user view, and reflect it in this narrow one column layout. And then this becomes more of a simpler mobile header with two buttons now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Um, so that's just, and then this has to break, I guess. Here. Oops. No, I can't do that with this control.
Oh, just so it's one line. Yeah.
Yeah, so that have to be two lines, I guess. Well, you know what I mean. Okay, so this is one idea. I mean, I think the best I could do in this time that we have is just kind of sketch it out at this high level with
Yeah, I
you.
think the overall sitemap was extremely helpful to see, and the ideas about the navigation, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so basically for me, it um, opens up a ton of space, I think, too.
Yeah, it kind of gives you a lot of questions you can once you have this visualization for yourself, you can just kind of, play with the ideas and what's important in this view, and then, you know, you have a starting point for this work before you just start to implement it,
Yeah.
which is kind of what I was thinking you were able to get out of this session. Um, yeah.
Or
So
even
what?
even just watching you use the tool, part of it is like I I don't even know where to start, but I think uh, so seeing the way that you do things, just doing kind of a rough box outline and then copying things and rearranging them, I think is really helpful.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's good to see if you're if you don't, wireframe too much in your as part of what you normally do, just to see how it helps to draw boxes. I mean, because before you touch things, you could throw this out and
Yeah.
start over, and it's not a lot of effort for you to redo it in a wireframe. Um, but so before, I just did this other side here, this public
Uh-huh.
view, because I think that these are the kinds of questions that you also think about when you're wireframing. Like if I have a change in state, or if there's a different um, condition for this page where someone else is looking at it, it's you could think about all of these things like this. So this is a user that's signed in, right? Then this is, let's say, a signed out user. You don't necessarily need to wireframe all of this stuff if if you kind of have an idea already of how this is going to work. But like, this is what we talked about, right? Which is sort of what are the kinds of changes that you want to make to customize the experience for the signed in user versus the the user who just learning about the site, right?
Hmm.
So these are like three different states of this one view now. There's this is me when I'm looking at my own view. This is
Hmm.
this is not Mike Ivanoff now. This is me. This is the other Mike. Um,
Hmm.
well, in this case, me. And then you know, and I don't run that much. So let's see, I did 60 miles. So this is all right. This is you looking at your own view. This is you looking at my view when I. Oh wait, hold on a second. This is you looking at my view, another user's view, and
Yep.
so this is other user's view, or whatever you want to, however you want to think about it. Looking at another user's view, or this is any user's view when it's not your own, and then this is the public view that's not when the user is just kind of browsing the site and they're not signed in for whatever reason. Then they have a different navigation, but they still have access to sponsor the person and all that stuff. So this is one approach, I guess, that you might take for this set of putting this set of features in the page, and we could do another session, and we could work on some of these other views, like the leaderboard, or we could work on editing the profile, all that stuff. But how are you feeling now? Is this covering?
Yeah, this is. I mean, it's hugely helpful, um, and this is certainly a lot quicker than me messing with HTML templates.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, so what I could do is just give you this bumper that you could load up in desktop,
Okay.
and then if you want to do another session to look at the details of another part of the site, we could do that in the future. But maybe you could just, you have a bunch of organizational things that to consider now. This is not a great looking sitemap the way I've done it, but you could pick out one thing that you might feel like needs some design or something, or some design consideration from this level, and then we could tackle that if you want in the future.
Sounds great. Yeah.
Does that sound okay?
For sure.
Well, cool, Mike. I hope that today was helpful, and then like I said, I'll send you this stuff, and then I'm happy to help you more if you need another set of eyeballs as you're going along.
Yeah, that would be great. I'll definitely take you up on it.
Okay. Cool. All right. It's good to talk to you. Nice to meet you.
Good to talk to you. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks. Bye.